Tonight, Todd wants to look at sewing machines.
If I want to look at a sewing machine, I'm going to look at a sewing machine.
Drew wants to go a step further.
Eventually, they'll finally do the f***ing dishes and let me f*** a sewing machine.
And I ask the important questions.
How do I continue to love my wife when I find her annoying?
Why hello, my fellow apes.
And welcome to LowFruit, where I've got headphones on because otherwise I can't hear our guests.
Right, okay, so he actually had other headphones, but he didn't charge them, did you, Reese?
No.
Yeah.
And I've lost my in-ear headphones as well.
And to complicate things even worse or more, we've got some esteemed guests.
Yep.
Introduce them.
We can't put them on screen because otherwise people will see how scuff our setup is.
Oh yeah, they got lovely lighting, they've got like the camera and all the rest. Yeah.
Yeah, we're very professional
I assume
in comparison.
You insulted our sofa. What are you doing?
No, actually, I like that. I like
You
the
know what?
sofa. It looks really comfy.
It is very comfortable. I've actually realised that I'm treating this sofa like some parents treat their kids. And that is like, I'll go around going, the sofa's just utterly crap. I can't believe it. But if someone else goes, oh, it looks a bit rough, I'm like, whoa. You do not say that about my sofa.
I was a bit confused there because it was like, oh, I'm treating it like some people treat their kids. Oh, I sit on it.
Oh no. Let's not go down that road.
I come from a council estate. That's the thing. Yeah.
Right. Well, we have a doozy of a video, and I cannot wait to get you
Whoa.
watching it.
You haven't let them introduce themselves.
We never introduce our
Guys, please introduce yourselves.
Well, I'm Taylor, and this is Drew.
Okay, get on with it. We're good.
Do we really need to introduce ourselves? Do we?
Oh, there he is. Yes, that's what I want.
I mean,
no, you do not.
Let's talk about the Venn diagram here. I think LowFruit might be inside. Taylor and I are here, and we have some like overlap here, and then LowFruit is just it's in the middle. It's in the middle.
That is why we have this sofa.
From Anonymoo, how do I love and lead my unbelieving wife?
No, not this guy.
Oh, I love this guy.
Not this guy. I can't stand this guy.
Tony's my favourite.
Yeah, we've got our props ready.
Oh, we got our props ready. You know, where he walks around and just picks up his stuff to be able to go, that's now tax deductible.
Yeah, so what we got on screen, how do I love and lead my unbeliever?
Yeah.
Oh.
This is going to be... I will say, Wretched Radio is... There's a couple of things that you can watch from the US when you're in the UK where it really is weird. So Sid Roth, he's up there. Anything Sid Roth does makes me want to die of cringe. And also Todd with Wretched Radio. Everything about him, I'm like... If I wanted to make it so that I can't sell something, if I wanted to come across as a demon... Like, I would just do what they're doing, and yet they're celebrated in evangelical circles, especially Sid.
I think that Ray Comfort and Todd Friel are kind of playing good cop, bad cop. That's their goal, you know. You get
Which is which?
you get you get the nice guy who just asks you questions in a fancy accent, and then you get the guy who's going to grill you. And it's
The thing about Todd Friel is that he doesn't always have that weird accent. I've seen videos of him where he talks completely normally, and I'm like, okay, so it is possible for you to act like a normal human being.
Yeah.
Why do you do this? Well, I know why he does it for his show. It's because it like captures people's attention, but it's just bizarre.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if we did LowFruit like this?
What, trying to order from a restaurant? Hello, I would like... I can't. It feels wrong. Yeah, I think you're right. It has to be completely put on. If it's not, I want to meet the guy.
I watched your episode with R and Raw, I think it was, where you responded to Todd Friel talking about metal music. And I loved how his like one example of metal music was Kiss. I was like, Kiss is like not metal, but okay.
It's like that kid at school that thinks that they've got into heavy metal and they're just like, I'm now listening to like, Britney Spears. It's like, no, you want to go a lot further.
From Anonymoo, how do I love and lead my unbelieving wife? She's a very demanding woman. and fights me the whole way with everything I try to lead in.
Do I love and lead my unbelieving wife? She's a very demanding woman and fights me the whole way with everything I try to lead in? Question mark.
Well, take it away. What do you think of this opening question?
I mean, it's kind of obvious what this person's bias is already. Like, what does demanding mean? Like, what does demanding mean to this person? I'm assuming it's just like a woman who voices her opinion at all, and that's like seen as demanding.
I mean, also, if she's unbelieving, then these types of like evangelicals tend to think that voicing any kind of perspective that is not even necessarily in opposition, but just in disagreement to them is some form of persecution or like torture. And so I imagine that he's like, okay, we have to go to church. And she's like, I don't want to. Probably. I mean, like that would constitute, I don't know yet, but like that constitutes fighting the whole way to them.
Yeah.
I find the whole question to be essentially, how do I continue to love my wife when I find her annoying? That's kind of what I get as a feeling out.
Yeah.
Honestly, the first thing I get from this, when I started doing more of this LowFruit stuff, I realized the cultural difference in parts of the US and just how heavy into basically how gross the misogyny is in these religious communities. And so when I look at something like that, my first thought now after doing a few is this person's probably, like Todd, got this really fucked up view of like what a woman's role is in society and a woman's role is in the family. And
well, it's biblical, isn't it? Subservient to the husband.
Like, you'd argue he's got scriptural receipts. I'm not going to lie. It's the woke Christians that have got rid of this stuff that's actually in more trouble. But I think that's where like this is coming from and why this is like vitiated in their communities. And it's something that I've seen a lot on your channel, Taylor. Like some of the stuff you mentioned and the way that you both talk about it is if like, yeah, this was totally a normal thing. I'm like, the fuck? What planet were they on? Like, why is that a thing?
Yeah, I feel like you guys being in Europe, you kind of have a different perspective on it. And this kind of stuff isn't as prevalent as it is in the US. There was an article. I don't know if you guys have heard of Ballerina Farm.
No.
It's this like trad wife account on Instagram, and she does like trad wife stuff. But there was an article written recently, and it was written by a European journalist. Like she interviewed the Ballerina Farm wife and her husband. And some of the stuff that they said was just like they were like acting as though the way they live their life with like the wife being submissive and the wife being the homemaker. They were talking about it as if that's super normal and like everybody does that. And the journalist was like, what the hell? Like, this is not a normal thing in Europe. Like what you guys are saying is actually really controversial. And so I think it's just like, I don't know. It's more shocking depending on where you live.
Yeah, and I actually have seen it. When I went to London about a week or so ago, it was just on the TV, and it's bizarre. It's so bizarre, and yet that is like a real thing. Like trad wife is quite big. Like, yeah, feel fear. But let's see what Todd is going to give in terms of answers to this very loving and open question.
Dude, you are living in a tough scenario.
How? There's no context. There's nothing.
Like, how does he know
He's
that?
immediately like it's your fault. Yeah. It's like the best wingman ever.
Is that the whole email?
Yeah.
I guess that's everything he's going to respond to.
Okay, we can say this then. It's either very bad production on his end, despite all of the polished turd that he's got of the studio, or if that is the only thing he got, he's just immediately like, yeah, bro, you're in the right. Like, she's totally in the wrong for demanding that you actually pay child support.
Well, I mean, if she's unbelieving, of course she's in the wrong. That's just a rule of thumb.
The default.
Yeah.
Done. Yeah, finished.
How could she possibly be right if she has no objective basis for her morality or love?
This is it. This is why we need them on. They fix it for us. We're in despair, but they've got it. They got the answer.
This fellow needs a local church. This fellow needs support. This fellow needs love.
So I find that strange already, because as far as I know in America, local church is probably about 2 houses away from you.
Oh, he's also like assuming that this guy isn't already in church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
That's the thing that gets me.
he's just kind of adding information in.
It's strange because I can't imagine someone who's not evangelical emailing him.
Yeah.
We need to email him.
Why?
Just give him like this. Like it has to be good enough so he'll take it, but bad enough that you can like maybe meme him.
Okay.
I'm all for this.
Okay, that's a gig.
I'm all for this, trying to infiltrate Todd Friel's show. I want to be the wretched guy.
This fellow needs love, and this fellow needs to be able to be transparent without feeling like...
Sorry, did he just say this guy needs love?
Yeah, he needs love.
Is he assuming that his wife doesn't love him because she's an unbeliever?
There's so many assumptions happening here.
Yeah, why doesn't the wife... I mean, he's not saying the wife needs love. He's like, I'm having trouble loving my wife. Oh man, this guy really needs love. Like, what?
It's just broke. And it's like, these are the kinds of guys that walk around acting as if their shit don't stink.
Yeah.
I just like, if you said to me, become the grossest you can, it's that. Like, it's just immediately acting that way and being that way. And yet apparently that's how you get success.
It's worthwhile for the studio, though. I mean, just look at that. Like, look at the difference
So
between
much
your
better
production and
than
his
so far.
production. Really?
Yeah. I mean, he has like a fucking chandelier.
Yeah. You could have a chandelier.
Well, I've always assumed
Old
that
chandelier.
all of this is a tax write-off, essentially.
Yeah.
That's why he's always got like the sofa, the special lighting, all the things in the background.
Yeah. The whole thing. That's why he's made himself such a weird person.
And that's
Because
why
then
he
he can
walks
claim
around.
himself as a tax-exempt product. That's what I'm betting.
And this fellow needs to be able to be transparent without feeling like he is a loser for having a wife who's a bit rebellious.
No one assumed that.
I mean, I'm thinking he's a loser for having a problem with his wife being unbelieving and rebellious. Not so much that she actually is.
Well, I feel like it's like this framework of if your wife isn't a believing Christian, then you're failing as a husband because your duty as a husband is to lead her in faith. So obviously you're a loser and you're doing something wrong if that's not happening. And it's just like, or maybe just people have different opinions and beliefs and that's okay.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
No,
like,
it's not
because
okay.
he's like the head of the house under like that jurisdiction. Yeah, anything that's under your house that isn't conforming towards God or whatever it might be, it's your fault.
You're failing, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, just all of like the oppression and the every bit of the psychology that's involved in religion. I'm so glad I've not suffered it. I'm perfectly fucked without it. Like that stuff would have left me in trouble.
This is something that I think this is an example of something that we have talked about several times. It's like you see people say, you need to do this, which is misogynistic. You need to do this, which is, enabling like a systemic form of oppression. But do it in like a nice way. Be nice with a smile on your face. Don't call people names. Be polite while you're being extremely sexist and oppressive to people. That's what this is. Don't call him a loser. You're not a loser if you can't control your woman. But we have this ideology that you do need to believe that basically leads you to the idea that you're a loser. Just don't call anybody a loser for that.
And they do it with like minorities in general, don't they? They go, don't tell them off for choosing to be gay. Just gently be there and encourage them,
But tell them everything they're doing is evil.
Everything they're doing is evil, but be really nice about it, and then
actively
then it's not evil.
vote to take their rights away, but do it in a nice way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Break bread and then vote so that they can't eat it. Yeah, exactly.
It happens. We need to help people like this, not them.
What?
It's just being very judgmental while telling you not to be judgmental.
Yeah. I'm with Taylor on this one. Why did you bring this guy? Like, why this guy? Like, this guy is just too much. This is not how you treat guests.
It's how I treat guests.
Actually, under that premise, we couldn't have guests.
What might I say to him? I would say that this is an issue that demands a long view. I don't think that this is... Hey! Golda, if I want to look at a sewing machine, I'm going to look at a sewing machine.
What? Where did that come from? What are you talking about? Can we go back? Because I have like no idea what.
Do we need to do that again?
we need that again. That was bizarre.
What might I say to him? I would say that this is an issue that demands a long view. I don't think that this is, hey, Golda, if I want to look at a sewing machine, I'm going to look at a sewing machine.
I don't understand what's going on.
Does somebody
That doesn't
understand
make
this? I don't
sense.
understand what the sewing machine has to do with anything.
I think
Is sound? Oh,
is he saying
go on.
like you need to get your wife in line? Yes, but you don't need to do it by yelling. Like is that what it is?
I think
what he's
he's
saying.
got two messages. On the one hand, he's like saying you don't have to yell, but on the other hand, it sounds like he wants to bring in sewing machine because it's, I don't know, associated with women.
I
or something.
guess.
And yet the way he said it is, if I want to look at a sewing machine, why would he want to look at a sewing machine? Is that meant to be her? Is that him? Like,
I think he just did an on-spot of, if I want to do X thing, I'm going to do X thing and you're not going to stop
and
me.
he chose a sewing machine.
I don't know why.
That was random.
Like, wouldn't that be like if he was trying to like, listen, if I want to go watch football, I'm going to watch football. Not listen, wife, okay, giving me all of your crap. If I want to go out with the boys and do some sewing, I'm going to go out and do some sewing.
Or was this assumption of how the wife is acting?
What, the wife's coming up to him and go, listen, if I want to go do some sewing.
Yeah.
Who sews?
Otherwise,
these
we've got
days?
nothing
Like,
to work with.
I just have to say, you know, you guys didn't live this, but Taylor and I happen to know maybe more from seeing it in communities and from influencers in the Christian sphere. When you are repressed to a certain degree sexually, even a sewing machine can become sensually arousing to you. So it's possible that it's a curvaceous, bodacious sewing machine, and that he's speaking from
this does make
experience.
sense. See, this is why everyone I know who was like deeply religious, and then they're not. Oh man, these guys are doing everything. They're like, freedom! I get all the sewing machines I ever wanted.
We aren't Tevye, and this ain't Fiddler on the Roof. This takes some wisdom. This takes a long view. So, sir, might I suggest, if you are dealing with a woman who is acting like that, if she's a professing believer,
Which she's not.
Yeah, they explicitly said that she's not.
sir, might I suggest, if you are dealing with a woman who is acting like that, if she's a professing believer, approach this ongoing sin issue gently, lovingly, teaching, not overtly all the time. You know what I'm talking about.
To be insidious.
Yeah.
So like, if she comes to you and she's like, listen, I need to talk about this issue in our relationship, or you're putting too much pressure on me, I need some help with the children, or I need some help with work, or whatever it might be. His advice is go in there and insidiously try and get your own way, not listening to her.
Right.
And instead do your best to hide the fact that you're not interested. Because if you go in there and you're full on about it, then you ain't going to get what you want. Like,
Yeah.
It's like encouraging gaslighting.
yeah, like this is a lesson in gaslighting. This is a lesson in control. Like,
I mean, the alternative, you're right, to yelling and screaming and trying to assert your way by force is going to be subtle manipulation. And sometimes people say, I wish that, like I hear people say, I wish that people would just be upfront about their prejudices. You know, if you're racist, if you're sexist, it's better if you just come out and say that, like, oh yeah, I just don't like women, or I just don't like such and such minority.
Yeah.
Than to be like, oh no, I'm totally an ally, but then gaslight and manipulate and abuse covertly, every person that you get a chance to. That's kind of what he's recommending here.
If your wife has the thing that she wants to do, but you don't, find a way to manipulate her into your line of thinking.
yeah. And it's like that hiding element, that hide what you actually think and not really say that quiet part out loud. I don't know about you guys, but I've noticed from like responding to Ben Shapiro and the way that he argues that you shouldn't have gay marriage because of X, Y, and Z, it's like the fuel is definitely his religious views. But he can't just come out and say, this is why I'm against it. Instead, he has to argue some really stupid things, such as marriages for those that have children. And then you'll be like, well, why won't you apply that to infertile couples? Why won't you apply that to couples that don't want children? And then he comes up with some ad hoc response as to why they're, omitted. But, you're not allowed it for the gay people still. And it's just, once you pay attention, you realize, wow, that's what they're doing. But it must be effective because that has become so much more common. I miss the good old days when people just told me I'm going to hell, when people just full on said what they actually feel, rather than this hidden element that Todd's recommending.
Talking about, so honey, I just heard John MacArthur talking about rebellious women. I really think you need to listen to this cassette.
Jesus! That's not what I call subtle.
Oh my goodness, okay.
I just like the word cassette.
You have to play that back.
Can you imagine? Let's take it another way.
Yeah.
Steve, I've been listening to this guy. You're talking about racism a lot. You should probably give him a listen. What's the implication?
That's really subtle, bro. I'm glad you really subtly getting those views across, okay? Yeah, what up?
Also, who's listening to cassettes?
Yeah.
Both of his references is sewing, cassettes. Oh,
Well, it's that 1950s American Dream sort of thing.
Yeah.
He must know it must be his audience.
Oh,
He
yeah.
must know his audience well.
His audience, they have to be older people.
Yeah.
Because all of his references are always like these old-timey things that like nobody our age or younger would really get.
I mean, also his name is like Wretched Radio. Like who?
Yeah, it's not-
who's listening to radio? Come on.
Okay, dated reference, but the point is you can be a little bit more subtle about it. It doesn't need to take you automatically to 1 Peter 2. Just do a lot of teaching. Let the Holy Spirit sanctify her, grow her.
What does
This
that
is
mean?
disgusting
What
to
does
me.
that mean? Like, at what point does the Holy Spirit come down and go, "Don't worry, bro, I got it from here"?
I think
Like,
my interpretation of this is quite simple. If your wife has goals and dreams, she shouldn't.
Just like if the Holy Spirit is involved and the Holy Spirit can bring her back or into Christianity, then what's the point of the husband doing anything at all? Like, why does he need to like teach her or whatever if it's just going to be the Holy Spirit doing it in the end? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah,
That's the problem with apologists in general, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why do we need them?
it's true.
Yeah, that's so true.
there is like the situation, I guess, that if he goes, if the person takes this advice from Todd, who obviously knows so much about his relationship, and he goes and he applies this stuff and he slaps down, everything that Todd's teaching here, and it somehow succeeds, the Holy Ghost works through him.
Yeah.
But if he fails, well, he's just a loser of a man that can't control his wife. Like, is that?
Yeah.
Like, it's heads I win, tails you lose.
What I'm seeing here is that he's saying, you don't need to be treating your wife like a punching bag. You need to treat her like a child. You need to instruct her in the right way because obviously you know better and she's inferior in her intellect. Like that's what I'm
it's
getting.
all very infantilizing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like with the assumption that it is the husband's job to be doing this at all.
Well, that's what I said. Don't let her have her own hopes and dreams. You should be telling her what they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a weird thing. Like, so like one thing that's attractive to me is competence and ability, and so like being in a dynamic where the natural state should be that they're subordinate to you in everything just wouldn't work for me. And yet it seems that these traditional households insist that it's that way, even when it's not. Like, imagine how many like women that are just way smarter than their husbands have had to like pretend to be thicker than them, or to pretend to be into things that they're not into, in order to and actually feeling bad about the fact that like they're questioning their husbands because he's an idiot or anything along those lines. I just it's yeah.
I mean, it seems to me that would stem from insecurity. If you as a man can't handle your wife or your girlfriend or your partner being at all at your like intellectual or like career level, you have to always have her in submission to you or lesser than you. That just shows me that you're extremely insecure and you have to like be at the top in all situations.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's something I've seen across the board. Even going back to it, but like even with the people that are like super like anti-trans or anything along those lines, a lot of them are quite obviously like suffering from those kind of psychological issues. It's yeah.
I just wonder why, if you don't want an equal partner in your relationship, but you do want things done around the house and you want to get your socks off sometime, why don't you just hire a maid and buy a fleshlight?
Because they want to get it.
Do you know what I
They
mean?
want to get it a better deal. They want to get it for free.
Yeah, what do I do? Is that flashlight going to cook for you? Is it going to sew for you? Is it going to put your lovely cassettes on at night? No, it's not. Is it going to give you babies? Maybe. No, we
I
don't
would
know.
much prefer, if that's like how a guy wants things to be, I would much prefer that he just hires a maid and gets a fleshlight. At least no one's going to be hurt in the process of that.
Yeah.
But that's how he's treating a person anyway, as a maid and a fleshlight.
And then wisely introduce the ideas of authority, and then you can teach on what submission really means. This is just...
What's the wise way of introducing your authority? What do you think is the wise way to introduce, hey, I'm in charge of you?
There is no way to do that. There is no wise way. The wise thing would be don't do that.
Yeah. Maybe like, I don't know, like grow some balls, be okay with like your wife like having autonomy or being as smart as you, or like being able to decide whether she wants to clean the kitchen but not the living room today. Not both, you know.
Yeah, you're right. Wisdom would be being able to go, she's better than me at that. You know what? She doesn't have to do exactly what I want. But not in this context. No, wisdom is flipped completely.
The thing is that I've seen things from like the 40s and 50s where this is how they teach women to behave around men.
Yeah.
I didn't realise how prevalent it still is on a fucking radio show.
Yeah,
well, I mean,
that's a good way of putting it as well.
His audience was, about 40 years old during the 50s, so that's why it works for them.
Half his audience was partying with Noah.
Right,
So I can get away with all
exactly.
these references.
I think what's kind of scary is that, as far as I understand, like his YouTube channel doesn't get like tons of views. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
I think it's mostly people responding to him.
Okay, yeah. But there are channels that are way bigger that pretty much teach a lot of the same things that Todd Friel does. Like the whole trad wife trend is essentially what Todd Friel is teaching, but it's mostly done by women, which is very interesting to me.
Yeah, that is peculiar. I think with a lot of these channels, they don't actually need the kind of success that, say, an atheist channel needs. And it's because their financial line is actually, their church or like their community. Yeah. And so really, the way that this material was shown in their churches is without the comments, is without response, and it's just something that they put on the screen. I mean, you see it with like Eric Metaxas. Eric Metaxas has a big studio. He gets some big names on. He really doesn't do very well with views at all, considering the sheer might that's behind the swing that he has. And the thing is that he doesn't have to. Like when they do a fundraiser, they make like $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 on a video that's got like 8,000 viewers. So I think their model is just different, and I think that's how longevity and views on YouTube just isn't what they're chasing. Yeah. That's all secondary.
I think that's like a majority, or I won't say a majority, but a lot of Christian channels I think are like that, where they don't, their setup is so extravagant and there's so much production that's going into making their videos. But then you look at their views and I'm like, how is that making sense? It doesn't seem like that would be financially viable at all. But like you were saying, I think it's just they have a lot of donors and stuff.
But sometimes it stops being financially viable and they start talking about demons all the time to recoup their losses. Demons are real,
but
guys.
Now the money comes.
Please, I'm going bankrupt. Please. Believe in demons.
My largest donor died. I need you guys to pick up and support me.
My largest donor died. Please immediately support us. Those that support us, Josh Rasmussen will join in and double his pledge. Oh, Cameron, if I was ever to predict someone that would convert to Catholicism, it was him. So I'm happy to see it.
There's a lot more fun ideas about demons in there, like a lot more fun, long-standing ideas about demons. So it is certainly more interesting in that way. It's more thematic and cool.
This is discipleship. If we're talking about somebody who's a professing believer,
they're not.
Yeah,
We're not
then we need to take the long view and be patient and loving, just like God is with us. If and however you are saved and your spouse is rebellious, won't participate in orderly affairs of a family that you deem are really important?
Here we go. He's finally going to answer the email.
Oh,
Been dodging around
Here
it.
comes the final answer. How's he going to answer it if he hasn't read it properly?
No, he has. He's just remembered what it is now.
Okay. Because as he turned away, he managed to look at the TV and he went, I'm not recording it again, but now I actually know what the question is. I'll bring my cadence round. I'm ready.
Then obviously the issue is conversion and regeneration, and I would focus on that way more than I would focus on...
Gotta convert her to Christianity. That is the magic pill that she has to swallow in order for everything to work out and your family to be perfect. There can be nothing else.
Or just love her as she is. Like, why is that not an option?
No. Convert her to Christianity and then show her the passages where she has to be subservient.
Yeah.
That's what
Read
you
her
got to do.
Titus 2.
How is that useful advice? Like,
I just like that he's like, okay, guys, so if your wife is being rebellious, if women are not completely subservient to men like children to their parents who obviously know better, then we got to play the long game. We got to completely change all of their metaphysical beliefs. We got to convince them of this entire cosmological system. And then eventually they'll finally do the fucking dishes and let me fuck a sewing machine. That's the end goal. It's going to take a minute to get there.
yeah. It's just such a tall order. It's like, she's not acting the way I want her to be, and his answer is just convince you that she should act the way that you want her to be. It's such a brilliant.
It's simple, Steve.
Yeah.
I don't understand what your problem is. Like,
so sorry. I don't know what my problem is. Yeah.
I would have said, if them not being a believer was such a deal breaker, why did you marry them?
Because people change in marriages, okay? When you got with her, she loves sewing machines. Now she doesn't. She doesn't even get the cassette out every so often.
I suppose it's always a chance she deconverted.
I wish that there was a lot more context to that email, because I am curious about that. Like, was she a non-believer when they got married? Because in evangelical Christianity, that's like a big no-no.
yeah.
So it's like, how did they get to that point to begin with?
And the way that he's speaking about her actually being a believer, maybe it's... Because I've noticed that you get like, you're a cafeteria Christian is actually an insult within Christian communities to be like, I'm more pious than you, I'm a real Christian, you're not a real Christian. And so maybe it's like, unbelieving in this sense is like not so far as to be someone that actually doesn't believe, but rather someone that goes, maybe let's drop the wafer thing if they're a Catholic, or like, maybe this verse shouldn't be taken this way, or something along those lines. Maybe there's a dynamic like that.
She probably just doesn't believe that wives are supposed to be submissive, and that's the problem that he has.
Oh, that's the one. That's probably it.
Then I would focus on submission.
Oh
No, what?
we got a wonderful sketch. No, we got a sketch.
Hey,
Todd.
sweet.
Take her around the block a few times?
Who's a good girl? You're not, because nobody does good. No, not one. Romans 5 says we're born in sin and iniquity, and our hearts are deceitful and wicked. You know that if you'd use the law would...
What?
This is so offensive to me. Dogs are only good.
Leave the dog alone.
Is he supposed to come off as the good guy in this? And like she's definitely doing what even my Christian self would have
The
done.
normal reaction.
Yeah.
I think what's going on is he wants that house to be tax deductible, and now it's in a field, and the dog is as well.
But he could have done that with a non-cringe video. So I think what that is there is, here's an example of when you're not subtle.
Oh, you think that he's basically trying to do like a do as I just taught, not like this, and then he's doing it like that. The thing is, I don't know with Todd.
It's true.
I just don't know.
Why would you film her having this sort of scared reaction?
Because like there's like this element of like, look how pious I am, look how much I'm for Christ. We were told that the world would turn against us. Like, here's a scene that's comical, it's like this. Jehovah's Witnesses experience this when they knock doors. You'll experience this in your life when you're being a professing Christian. The world will turn against. Like, I think it's like,
Could be.
it's almost like a humble brag. That's what I'm
I
getting.
mean, this also comes from the same studio as the people who go and ask college students the same questions that they were asking them literally 20 years ago. They just go and ask. It's the same script over and over and over again. I don't think that they expect their audience to want anything that's interesting or innovative or even really makes sense. So they just kind of say things. It's hard to put this past him. I could totally see him being like, I'm the good guy in this. But we can play it and find out.
Hearts are deceitful and wicked. You know that if you'd use the law, which brings about the knowledge of sin.
That was just so bizarre.
People aren't listening to me at that door. Give me money.
Okay, so it said Todd is only good at one job.
Which is?
I don't know. I haven't figured out what his good job is yet. Like,
you don't get to claim he's good at one job then until you've...
He did. That's what he said. He said Todd is only good at one job, and then we've got him walking along with a dog leash on himself.
Cringe videos?
Cringe videos. Todd is only good at cringe videos. I think that's fair.
I mean, I was right. Yeah. This was supposed to be a portrayal of him being good at his job. He's good at sharing the gospel. In fact, he's so good at sharing the gospel, he's shit at everything else because it impedes his ability to function as a human being. Like, that's the message. That's literally the message here.
And it's compounded by the fact that he's so shit at his job that when he knocks to the door to do the one job that he's meant to be good at, they shut the door on it.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's crap at everything. Wow. Why did you choose this guy, Reese? Like, this
of
is
all
just
people.
This has been torture.
Because you said let's find a video where we can have Drew and Taylor on.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. Yeah.
And basically, I saw the first second with that email. I went, yes.
Yeah.
This is the one.
No, I'll do it. You know the worst thing about this, right? Is it leaves me exhausted at the end. So when we need a last bit of energy, I'm like, why have we just watched this? Like, what the hell? Like, I don't know where to take this. I don't know what to do with it.
I just can't believe that this was only 3 minutes long, but it feels so much longer because it's just so horrible and cringe the entire time.
We're not content with letting our audience suffer for 3 minutes. We've got to make them suffer for 30.
Absolutely. Always.
I think we should compound the suffering. I think that we need to do all of the outro. Anything from this point has to be done in a Todd Friel impression. Okay, guys, go.
Oh, you know what? We need to do some LowFruit adverts that completely mimic. Oh, that's a great idea.
Well, thank you all for watching. And we'll see you on the next one.
Now, thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Love your work. We'll leave a link. You will leave a link to their stuff at the bottom. Just thanks. We really appreciate it. Everyone, check out their work. It's truly awesome stuff. Thanks.
Thank you guys for having us on. LowFruit is honestly my guilty pleasure. I've seen every episode, I think.
Wait, so it's not sewing machines?
It's not sewing machines, believe it or not. I know, it's shocking.
Well, LowFruit's better. All right, well, thank you guys. Really appreciate it. And hopefully do it again.
That's the end of the video.
Sure thing.
Bye.
Bye.